Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this episode, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. Today, I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join and receive mail from my desk or from my Disneyland trips. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Joe Gamble, Scott Booker, Monica Seitz Vega, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Scott Cagle, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Grace Coate, Ben and Noel Bruning, Patty Wolin, Angela Reynolds, and Aaron Moran. B-ticket patrons The Disney Rewind Podcast, Jeff and Paige Orton, and Joshua, and Exorable Tosh Bell. And the A-ticket patrons, Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, Angel DeBlois, and the All Aboard podcast. You can also sign up for my new newsletter for a chance to get some postcards delivered by the USPS to your mailbox. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has the India section of the It's a Small World attraction. You can see the miniature Taj Mahal in the background, some characters riding flying carpets, and a small band under an umbrella. On the back it reads, India, It's a Small World. The mysteries of beautiful India and its elegant Taj Mahal are seen as flat-bottom boats sail down the winding 7 seaways and through the Middle East. It's postmarked March 29, 1972, with a San Jose cancel, but the postage stamp has been removed. I assume they visited the park on Tuesday, March 28, 1972, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 74 and a low of 46. It's addressed to Muriel's Dollhouse of Port Costa, California. It reads, March 29, 1972. Hi Muriel, have you gotten postcards printed as of yet of your dolls? Being delatologists, we are always wanting doll cards, as they are so very scarce. Hope you might enjoy this card. Send prices each and per 100. Thanks in advance, Vivian. This postcard is perfect for this week's Imagineer. I especially like that it was sent to a doll store from a doll and postcard enthusiast. I chose this Small World postcard because this week's Imagineer is Alice Davis. Alice was born on March 26, 1929, in Escalon, California. She was awarded a scholarship to study at the Chouinard Institute. When she arrived, she wanted to study animation drawing because she wanted to work as an animator or illustrator. There was no room for additional students in the animation department, so she went to learn costume design. With no history of working with costumes or fabric, she was forced to learn quickly. She was told by Mrs. Chouinard that if she completed her costume design classes, she could take Mark Davis's animation drawing class on Tuesday nights. So, after completing all of her costume design courses, she began taking Mark's class. Alice and Mark started dating after she finished his class and was finishing her time at the Chouinard Institute. Her first job out of the institute was working for a lingerie designer. In 1956, she was contacted by a swimsuit manufacturing company in San Francisco and had 30 days to decide between moving upstate or staying in Los Angeles. One day before her decision was due, Mark Davis proposed to Alice and she stayed in LA. During their first year of marriage, Mark needed help with a costume for a live-action model for Sleeping Beauty. Alice took Mark's designs and built a skirt for the live-action model to wear so Mark could study how the garment moved. She continued to work for Disney, making some costume sketches for the movie Toby Tyler. One fateful night at the Tam O'Shanter restaurant, Walt Disney stopped by at Mark and Alice's table. Walt asked Alice what she worked on before marrying Mark. She explained that she had worked designing lingerie. He continued to ask her questions about different types of elastics and other fabrics. He left saying she was going to work for him someday. In the early 1960s, she got a phone call from Walt's secretary asking her to do some costumes for the characters of It's a Small World. Great news! Enfield Post is back up on Etsy. Grabbing some vintage stamps is a great way to plus your mail, whether you're trying to match the color of your postcard or envelope or adding a themed stamp to the back of your mail. Be sure to check out Enfield Post. You can head over to enfieldpost.com and explore all the different vintage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and enfieldpost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has the Latin section from It's a Small World. You can see the geometrically designed sun, some audio animatronics dancing under a sombrero-shaped piñata, and some corn husk dolls riding some corn husk horses. If you look closely, you can see the water reflecting some of the attraction. On the back it reads, Latin America in It's a Small World. It's fiesta time in colorful Latin America, where children dressed in gay native costumes gather to help guests journey down the winding 7 seaways. Bank of America presents It's a Small World, the happiest cruise that ever sailed. It's postmarked July 7th, 1973, with an Anaheim cancel and a 6-cent Franklin D. Roosevelt postage stamp, Scott number 1284. I assume they visited the park on Friday, July 6, 1973, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. The weather was a high of 75 and a low of 62. It's addressed to Mrs. Elizabeth Sketchley of Harvestown, Pennsylvania. It reads, Hi Mom, arrived here Thursday afternoon, but we went on the town Friday. We spent 8 hours of walking. It was worthwhile to see. Leaving for Las Vegas tomorrow morning. Love, Aaron and Kay. Working on It's a Small World, Alice was introduced to Mary Blair. Her main job was to take Mary Blair's designs and make different costumes and outfits for all the audio animatronic children. She explains in an e-ticket magazine article that it was fun for her to dress up all the dolls because she was a child of the Depression and didn't have any dolls growing up, and now she had the best dolls to play with and dress up. During this time, she was also working on the period costumes for the Carousel of Progress, looking at old photographs to make accurate costumes for the different decades the attraction displayed. Her next project was working on Pirates of the Caribbean. This teamed her up with her own husband, who had designed and worked on the concept art for the attraction. One of the first costumes that she completed was the auctioneer in the middle of the attraction. This was one of the last fully dressed audio animatronics that Walt saw before he passed away in 1966. Alice continued to work for Imagineering through 1978. Later, she was consulted in 2009 for the Pixar film Up. She was named a Disney Legend in 2004, and in 2012 received a window on Main Street next to her husband's, which reads, Small World Costume Company, Alice Davis, Seamstress to the Stars. Alice passed away on November 3, 2022 at the age of 93. I'll always remember seeing Alice at the Walt Disney Family Museum being interviewed by Diane Dizzy Miller and on stage with Marge Champion. The event was for Walt Disney's 109th birthday, and it was called Memories of Walt, A Conversation with Legends. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Be sure to check out Monday's ATD, which is usually hosted by paper artist Russ Romano. I see many amazing art projects, learned about awesome postmarks, postage stamp history, and a lot more on different episodes. It's great to stop in for an hour to watch someone craft or design something unique. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has 11 photos of Monte Carlo. At the top, there are black and white images of buildings and a boat. It's postmarked April 18, 2023, with a Monte Carlo racing cancel, which includes the website www.mtm-monaco.mc and a €180 Monaca race car postage stamp. It reads, Sent from La Poste, Monaco. I know you'll appreciate these rad stamps. Jamie. Thank you so much for the postcard, Jamie. The stamp and the postmark are super cool. I'm glad you made it back safe from your trip back east and over to Europe and home. It's amazing how much detail can be in a multi-view card, looking at the different architecture of the buildings shown on the front. It's a good reminder to send postcards even when you're not at Disneyland. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be awesome to share your favorite episode. There are over 100 episodes to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment at whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/SentFromDisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent From Disneyland, or on Twitter at Sent From Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent From Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.